Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Mahalski, and I want to welcome you to the Your Best Life Yet Summit. In this summit, we're going to look at all areas of your life, from personal, career, and business to home and even relationships. Our expert guests are going to share with you their insights and strategies so that you can live your best life yet, allowing you to create more joy, time, money, and freedom in your life. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest speaker. With over 25 years of proven success, Lisa Copeland is a dedicated pioneer in the automotive and financial services industry. Copeland, a serial entrepreneur, is now the CEO of Lisa Copeland Global Enterprises that manages 6 companies, including her latest, Think and Grow Rich for Women Global Summits, her Canadian TV car show, Car Sharks, Crushing It Academy, and the Sold Out Sales Bootcamp. Lisa is dedicated to excellence in all she does, including achieving Forbes Council of Coaches in 2017, and Top 100 Women in Automotive for Automotive News in 2016, just to name a few of her accomplishments. Welcome, Lisa. I'm so excited that you could be here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. We're kind of on hurricane watch here right now, so hopefully we keep power. It's been nuts. We're under a tornado watch and this hurricane, so.
Just crazy weather going on right now.
Huh?
Just crazy weather going on everywhere right now for you guys.
Our audio is good and all of that. But anyways, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored, and I'm excited to be participating in this summit.
I'm excited to have you. One of the biggest reasons that I asked Lisa here today is because she sets such an amazing example in her life of what you can really achieve when you just strive for excellence.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So can we start off and have you just share a little bit of your story? What are some of the things that you've gone through that have really pushed you to excel in your career and your life and see the success that you have?
You know, that's a big question. I'm not sure I've got the right answer. At a very young age, my father, who I loved very much, was a serial entrepreneur and very, very successful in Silicon Valley. And he really instilled it in me at a young age that, you know, it's overrated to work for somebody else. And the only way to create legacy and wealth, and not just wealth when it comes to money, but wealth when it comes to relationships and having time for your family and all of that, is if you sign your own paycheck. So I started my first company at 28 years old, no, 30 years old. And that was my Austin Mortgage Associates. It was actually a couple other companies before that. And, but I started my first mortgage company when I was 30 years old. And it was truly the first time I had a great taste of freedom. And I was able to, my husband and I both we were able to travel with our kids. And I even put my kids in private school because I had them out of school so much to travel that I thought, well, it wouldn't work in the public school system. And so even the private school ended up having to have a board meeting about us, and we made sure our kids had kept up on the grades and all of that. But, the family time was so important. And we wouldn't have had any of that if I would not have figured out a way to become an entrepreneur. So it's a long answer to a short question, but I think that there's a lot of freedom in being an entrepreneur. And I think there has to be something that drives you to do it. See, prior to my kids and when they were young and me wanting to spend more time with them, I really wasn't driven to do it. So I think everybody does things within their own timing, when it's the right time for them. And so I know there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs watching this summit. And so I just want to encourage you, if it's not today, if it's something you want to do, you'll find the right time to do it, because that's what pushes you to success. That's your driver, is what is your purpose. And I knew my purpose was to be a mom, but I loved business and I loved to, I love to work. If people who know me know that, like, I'm a workaholic. But I work on my own terms, and I work from my house, or, I travel and I speak and things like that. But I work on my own terms, but I love to work. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up that, you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that it was instilled in you that, signing your own paycheck is a way better deal. But I think I know for myself, the way that I grew up, and a lot of our audience probably is in the same boat, we kind of grow up with the ingrained idea that we're supposed to work 40 hours a week for somebody else and just kind of put in the time. And it really, I always had this thought that there was something more out there for us, that there was something better that we could be doing. And it's kind of hard to make that transition sometimes. But I know, like you said, when you had your kids, you know, you really wanted to be able to spend time with them. And that was kind of one of the switching points, I think, for myself as well, is that having those kids really changed my motivation where, you know what, I was just ready. I was ready to go out on my own and to do my own thing so that I could spend more time with them. And I know that the people watching are gonna take great care in that too, because I think a lot of times we just sit there kind of waiting for the right opportunity.
And there
we
is
might
right? There
know.
isn't one. And if you go to my website, you'll see the first thing I talk about is with any organization or with anything in life is that, you know, everything in my life and what I believe is that you've got to be purpose driven. So, you know, Rick Warren wrote a wonderful book, The Purpose Driven Life, but, you know, mine is the purpose, you know, what is your higher purpose? You know, what is it you were put on this earth to do? And at that time, I believed I was put on this earth to be the mom to Alex and JT. I was put on this earth to be a businesswoman. I was put on this earth to do a lot of things. And so, and especially as women, that's what happens to us. You know, we're businesswomen, we're parents, we take care of our parents. And, you know, so we have a lot put onto us. And being an entrepreneur, it's, you know, I work a lot more than 40 hours a week, but again, I do it on my own time. And, you know, there is not that safety net. You know, you're forced to make things happen. And to me, that's a good thing. I like having my back up against a wall. But I'll tell you, entrepreneurship's not for everybody because, you know, you don't have that guaranteed paycheck. You do have to go above and beyond. But if you want a life and you want freedom, I highly, highly recommend it. And has every year been the greatest year? No, not. I mean, there have been some tough years in my beginning of my career. But now I'm forever grateful that I stuck it out. And, you know, and now I'm able to see the fruit from all the hard work over the last 22 years. So
I love that you shared that with us, that it's not always easy, that there are some challenges, but the rewards are just they're just so much out there. And it's a different space that you're in when you're working more than 40 hours a week, but you're doing it for yourself because you know that you're working towards something that you believe in. And it's not always easy, but it's that belief in what we can do that really helps us just to keep moving through those tough times that are going to come up as an entrepreneur. And I think that,
and they're going to. I mean, and there are days that I still have, you know, a tough day, or I have a big contract fall through, you know, something I was counting on. It happens. And I guess especially to a bunch of young entrepreneurs, I would say, don't let that derail you. Because if you were working a 9-to-5 for somebody else, I mean, stuff happens, things come up, and you've got to be able to push through it. And my very dear friend and one of my business partners is Sharon Lechter, and she was the co-author and co-founder of the Rich Dad Poor Dad franchise. And then she wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women. And one of her great books is called 3 Feet from Gold. And so many entrepreneurs and women stop 3 feet from gold. And so I like to say that when you're at 97% of your goal, that's when things are going to get really, really tough. Just know that. I mean, obstacles are going to come your way. You're going to have to negotiate harder. The competition comes, all the above. But most people stop at 97%, which is why they are 3 feet from gold. It's the people that power through those hard days. You know, what happens is 97% of your competitors, everyone else quits. And that is when you can go grab the gold. But you have to power through the same thing. But it's a great day when 97% of your competitors drop out because things got too tough. So don't ever be that competitor, or don't ever be that business entrepreneur or business owner that drops out. Power through even on your darkest days. And that's probably my number one success piece of advice. And I've done it myself. And it was worth it. You know, we were one of the last mortgage brokers in Texas standing, and we still are. And all of my competitors, they left the market. It got hard, the regulations got tough and things like that. And so they quit doing it, or they joined, you know, becoming other banks, and, you know, they put their companies together, and we didn't do it. And I'm really, really glad we didn't, but it was really, really tough when all the new legislation came through. But, you know, we powered through it. And then I did it again with the car dealership. You know, Fiat left America as Fix It Again, Tony. And we brought Fiat back to America, and there were some pretty tough days. And the tough day was to convince a consumer to buy a car that left as Fix It Again, Tony. But we powered through, and then my team ultimately ended up breaking the world sales record. So you cannot quit when things get tough, because when things get really, really tough, you're 3 feet from gold. I promise you, power through.
That's an amazing story that you have, and experiences that just prove that, because I know so many of us And we think that there's no way that we can get through this, and we really hit our wall, but we're so close. And
So
it's just,
close.
we just need to realize that and
Yes.
keep going. So that's great advice to
Yes.
give our audience. Don't quit. And that's a great book. I've read it. It's an awesome story. So just believe in yourself that you can do that and keep going.
Yes.
I think that leads into my next question. Great. You talked about operating from your underlying purpose and how you've lived out your underlying purpose of empowering women throughout your career. Can you share with us how you've been able to do that?
You know, I have a real passion for women, and I believe that we have so much inside of us to give. But my many years in business, and I guess once I told a friend of mine the other day, I said, after I turned 50, it was like I got all this wisdom, all this gray hair, and then all this wisdom. But women have so much to give, and that women operate in fear so many times, and they let fear hold them back from success. They let fear to keep, it keeps them from executing so many times. What if I fail? What are my kids going to think? What if somebody says something bad about me? I worked on a project many years ago called the White House Project, and with Marie Wilson. She's a lovely person, and she wrote a book called Ad Girls Change Everything. But the number one reason that there are not more female candidates, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter, is that women are afraid of the consequences of running a political race. Like, for example, well, what if, they find out that I cheated on a test in college, or what if this happened? And so as women, we're always trying to protect our family and our reputations and things like that. And so that's why women need more encouraging than men do. And I think God just gave me that, because I really do try to find what's special about those women. And it gives me great joy to be able to kind of be their cheerleader and to root for them, because women need people to root for them. And so I don't know that I do anything more than encourage people and then just try to give them really good advice. And then I try to hold them accountable. If somebody comes to me and wants me to help, then that's fine, but I make it clear up front, then I'm going to expect to hold you accountable. Or expect me to hold you accountable. And I think that's really important. But women have so much to offer, but fear stops them in their tracks so many times.
And I know myself, that's definitely been the case a lot of times where I've gone into, well, what if this happens? Or, what if all this stuff comes up? How am I going to react to that? How am I going to be able to manage through that? So it's so nice to have such an empowering lady as yourself, really going out there and working to make changes in the industry and helping women get out there and find their voice and their success. We totally appreciate that. Which brings me. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, women typically, if once they decide to do it, I had an almost all female sales team when we broke the world sales record, and none of these gals had ever sold cars before. But see, they were empowered, and they had a purpose, and they were purpose driven. It wasn't to break the world sales record. It was to show the world that a bunch of young millennial women has what it takes in the boys club. And I told them at the time, I said, when this happens, and it'll be something that nobody can ever take away from you. And, it was pretty audacious what we went out and did. And I made the big bet in the press and all this other stuff. And, and the bet could have gone the other way. I'm so grateful it didn't. I don't think I'd be sitting here today if it did. But, women are not as likely to take chances. And women are less likely to bet on themselves. And that's what makes me crazy with women. It's like, you know what? It's okay to fail. It's because that just makes you one step closer to success. So failure is nothing more than just a lesson in life. But women are terrified to fail because they're afraid of judgment and criticism and things like that. So I just want to encourage all of you out there, just go for it. Go for it. If you fail, that's okay. Get up, dust yourself off, and do it again. Because there will be a day that you'll power through and you'll be successful beyond your wildest dreams.
I love that you keep bringing up purpose, because I think it is amazing once we get a hold of what our purpose is, how far that can really drive us to push past those fears and go out and just achieve things that we never ever thought were possible.
Right. One of the things I talk about in one of my keynotes that I give, I say, fear, danger is real. So listen, danger is real, but fear is a choice. And that's true. Fear is a choice that you make, because so many times we spend so much time anticipating what we think is going to go wrong. And 85 to 90% of the time, it doesn't happen. So you're living in fear, you're living in self-doubt, you're living in anxiety, all of those things, because you're choosing to dwell on that. So danger is real and fear is a choice. And if you can kind of keep that into perspective, danger is driving down the road 100 miles an hour or 200 miles an hour. Okay, that's dangerous for sure. But the fear is you have to learn how to control it, and you have to let it not control you. You've got to be able to put positive things into your mind every single day, and not let fear get in there, because fear is a choice.
That's true. I know myself. Most of my fear comes from all the stuff that I think up in my head. It hasn't actually happened, but I'm running these different scenarios thinking of like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then you get sucked into that. And I know for me, that's a lot of what stopped me from going out and really going after the things that I wanted. And I'm sure a lot of our audience can relate to that too. It's just a choice.
It's a choice. So danger is real. Fear is a choice. Write it, ladies, in lipstick on your mirror. Danger is real. And so therefore you're going to acknowledge danger. You're going to say, yes, I acknowledge that. But fear is a choice. And I think with everything that's going on in the world today, of course people are fearful. I mean, my other piece of advice is turn off the television. I don't let news stream through my house. I look at it at Reuters on Twitter 1 or 2 times a day. But I spend time putting things in my head and listening to books and listening to tapes. I mean, I do it all the time. People are just like, God, Lisa, it's like you don't let in the outside world. Why? I mean, why? I mean, I don't want to listen to people fighting about politics. I don't want to listen to people, all the hate that's going on in the world right now. I don't want to hear it, because that will make me fearful. So I know that. So we have to be, as women especially, in charge of our own remote control. You're going to have to be the remote control in your family, because if you think we're fearful, imagine what our children are going through. And so I think just so much of it breeds activity, and we have to be very, very careful of how we guard our minds and our hearts. And but it's our responsibility to do that. Just like it's our responsibility to be successful, it's our duty. It's our responsibility to protect what goes into our brain, because we have a choice of what we listen to. We have a choice of what we watch. And we have a choice of what we choose to believe and not believe. So another piece of wisdom.
So that brings me to my next question. You talk a lot about the importance of owning our choices instead of running from them. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So we all make mistakes, and we cannot let mistakes define us. So it's much better to own the mistake, learn from the mistake, move on from the mistake, but don't let it define you. And that's another thing that women, they're famous for. I made a mistake a year ago, and they let that hold them back. They let that define them. And I don't know anybody who I've ever met in my life who has not made a mistake or had a regret or whatever it is. But the best thing to do is to own it, get over it, and move on. Well, and the majority of the time, when women or men, anybody makes a mistake, I mean, the majority of the time, those of us that are good people, we learn from it and we don't do it again. And so it's just part of life.
And I think our mistakes really are how we learn. If we don't go through that, then we won't know for next time. So right. We should just embrace that.
Yep.
So what does it mean to complete the past, and how can it help you move forward into success?
Well, so I'm a big proponent of finishing what you start. So, and I think I'm not sure if that's coming from the book, but just you have to finish. You have to complete the past. Meaning you can't leave things lying undone. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a business, you have to close the door and lock it. That means you close that relationship the right way. You don't just walk away. Even when it comes to friendships, I believe that. How many times over the years have we lost a friend and you're like, well, what the heck? You don't even know what happened. It's like all of a sudden they don't talk to you anymore. And so I'm just somebody that I don't do that. If I've got a problem with somebody, and I care about them as a friend, I would never just walk away. I would have the conversation with them. I would, talk about how we can resolve it and then move on. And so that's what I talk about when I talk about closing the door. Just like, I think you should close, on the door on business also. Just because you don't close a sale or just because you don't get a contract doesn't mean you never communicate with those people again. you're gracious. You say, thank you very much for the opportunity. And you try to stay in contact with them to continue to prospect. And so I just think that all endings have to be done the right way. And if they are, then they don't have to be an ending forever. They just might be an ending for right now. So.
And that's great advice, because I think that cleans up maybe some mental space too, so that you're not constantly worried about it and thinking like, what happened there? What went on? Could I have done something better? Just, do what you need to do to tie it up so that you can move on and just continue on and achieve more success in your life.
And I've just found that when I've done it that way, like I said earlier, sometimes it's just goodbye for now, and I'm able to rekindle either those business relationships or those personal relationships at a later date. Versus just, closing the door and just, letting it go. I don't know. I agree with you. I think it clears up a lot of mental space, and you can just look yourself in the mirror and know that you did all you could do. And sometimes those things are mistakes, but you put it in the rearview mirror and you move on to the next thing, because you closed the door and you did it the right way. So.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I want to talk to you about your sold out boot camp now. Can you describe your mantra behind the sold out boot camps?
Yes. So I am a firm believer. I'm a sales expert. That's really my superpower. People say, what is your superpower? My superpower is selling. It always has been. And training sales teams. And I love it, because I think that selling is the most authentic thing you can do. And I believe everybody is selling no matter what. And I think you've got to be a great salesperson to be a great entrepreneur, because you have to bring people into agreement. That's what a salesperson does. I mean, I think a salesperson should be president, right? Because, your job is to bring, yourself or your client or whatever it is into agreement. So I formed the sold out sales boot camp. I'm doing it for a major automotive manufacturer for their inside sales teams, because they're out trying to sell cars to car dealers, from the factory. And then as it evolved, I've got so many amazing friends that I get to share the stage with as I travel around the world and speak. Like yesterday, I had the fantastic, amazing Bob Berg, who wrote the book, The Go-Giver. And the week before that, I had Bruce Serban, who's one of the top public relations experts in the country. And so I decided to make it really a collaborative thing. Next week, I'm going to have Joyce Bone. She's the author of Millionaire Moms, and she took the company public when they were 27. And I just think that when she was 27, I think there's just a collaborative spirit that us as business leaders, that we all have. And this is just really, it's a give back to the sales community, and it's a give back to young entrepreneurs. And I love it. I love collaborating with other experts, because I end up learning more than I'm ever teaching. I learned so much from Bob Berg yesterday. It was unbelievable. So I'm grateful to do it. I'm glad we have such a big following. I love it. It's my life's work.
That's great. I know, we've had Bob on our show as well, and he's just had so much great insight, and
love
just
that
the way that he looks at business is just amazing.
So
why did you name your courses Sold Out?
Well, so it's sold, S-O-L-D. And so, it was kind of a play on words, because if you're in sales, you want to be sold out, right? You want to sell all your products off the shelf. But for me, really, it was that you have to be bought in, and you have to be sold out from the standpoint that you have to believe so much in what you're doing, why you're doing it, what is the purpose of your company, why is it you get up in the morning. You've got to believe in your product. When you are that sold out, you will be successful beyond your wildest dreams. So I say, you've got to be sold out for your clients to be bought in. And then at that point, you're not selling anything. All you're doing is it's a relational sale. And I've had clients, I've owned so many businesses. I've literally had clients that when I had the mortgage company, I did their mortgage. Then I owned an insurance company. I was their insurance agent. I owned a boutique. I was a fashion major. I had a pretty large store here in town. They bought clothes from me. I opened up a car dealership. Then they came and bought cars from me. See, I don't see a client as a transaction, like, oh, I'm just going to sell you a car or a skirt or a book or whatever. I see it as a relationship. And so that's been very, very successful for me. But I've never, ever, ever, ever sold anything or brought to market a product that I didn't believe in wholeheartedly, that I didn't think that I would make somebody's life better by presenting it to them. And when you can be that sold out on what you're doing, even if it's starting a business or a product you're selling or a job that you have, if you can be that sold out, people are going to buy whatever you're selling because you're not selling them. Because see, they feel your passion and they understand that, you know, you're not trying to take them down a road. You're not trying to rip them off. You're not trying to hard sell them. All you're doing is just sharing your personal experience and your love of your product or your business or your service or whatever it may be. And your closing rate will triple. It'll quadruple. I mean, I very seldom over the years, when I come to market with something, most of the time that my clients, including the corporations that I consult for, they buy it because they know I'm not going to bring it to market if I'm not 100% sold out on it, number one. And that if I'm not 100%, or if I don't 100% believe that it will be a benefit to their company or to their people. So it's just an authentic way to do business. And that's the easiest thing for me, because that way you don't have to remember stories as a salesperson. You just, you know, all you do every day is just tell your story, and your story of your product and your passion and your belief in your system or your service or your goods or whatever it is that you're out there selling.
I think that's the best way to do business. And I think that your clients and customers can see that and feel that from you when you're passionate about what you're doing, and that you really do love what you're doing, and that it is in the best interest of the customers or the consumer, because you're taking the time to build that relationship. And I think that's really what people want, is just to know that they're heard, that you're understanding what their needs are, and that you care about that relationship.
As we should, you know, if you think about, and I've always said this, again, didn't matter what I was selling somebody, if somebody would trust their hard-earned dollars with me, my business, my service, whatever, my product, whatever it is, that I have a responsibility to deliver, not only deliver what I've promised, but to over deliver. And when you get into that, just like what Bob talks about, that go giver, you know, that I'm willing to give more or give more value than what is actually traded in currency. That is what builds a loyal customer. That's a customer that will stick with you forever through thick and thin. Because just know this, in business, things are going to go wrong. Products are going to break. You know, I might put a consultant out on a job and it didn't work out very well. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, problems are going to happen. But it lessens the problem when your customer knows that that you care that much about what's going on, and that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. Like a problem to me, even at the dealership when the cars would break, I mean, I always saw it as an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to show somebody exactly how I'm willing to stand behind what I do, my service, my goods, or my product. And they get to see me at my best. They get to see me when I'm solving their problems. And so a problem to me really is an opportunity. And I can't remember a time in my career when I've had a major problem. I've had a lot of them. And after I fixed them, or after I solved my customer's problem, I was closer with that customer than I was before the problem ever occurred. And 99% of the time, you know, they came back and they bought another car from me. They're like, look, I understand cars break, but if my car breaks, I want you to be my car dealer, because I know you're going to do the right thing no matter what it costs. And that's always been my mantra in business, and it works. It has to be authentic. That's the person you have to be. But if you can get behind that, you will be successful beyond your wildest dreams.
I totally agree. And that's just one thing that people can do, is to change their mindset about problems and just look at them as the opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity to shine as the business owner. You know, you get to show people what you're made of. It's super easy for people to write words on their website like, integrity and things like that. Well, don't write it, show it. And that's the time you get to shine with your customers during those opportunities.
And just truly build that authentic relationship with them.
Yeah.
So can you share with us, you say that salespeople are built, not born. What do you mean by that?
I don't think anybody's born into sales. And I think truly the great ones, those salespeople are built. Because, and I have such a philosophy about sales. It isn't what you sell, it's what you stand for. And if you stand for something big enough, people are going to buy whatever you're selling. And so there's a lot of people out there that are in sales that are pretty slick. And I think those are the ones that are just kind of, they're born, right? It's almost like they're almost deceptive, and they're slick, and they're always trying to figure out how to get one over on the other person. A great salesperson typically doesn't have that personality. So the best salespeople I've ever trained, that I've ever been associated with, a lot of them I built. They're like, oh, I could never sell anything. I could never do that. I couldn't ask, someone under pressure to buy something. And I'm like, you know what? What do you have a heart for? And if someone tells me that they have a heart for people, then I can build them into the world's greatest salesperson. And, and it'll change their life. One of my gals at Fiat, she was living in her car. I didn't know it at the time. She was my part-time receptionist. And she was living in her car, and I was her third job. She had 2 other jobs. I call them side hustles now. And then she worked part-time for me. And after she was watching all of our salespeople doing very well, she came in my office and she said, I'm sure I'm probably not the kind of person that you put on the sales floor. I mean, she was, she looked different than a lot of the other people. She was just very edgy. And I said, well, why would you say that? And she said, I don't look like them. She said, but I can tell you this, I love these customers. I think they're fantastic and they're passionate. And she's like, I know I could do the job. And I said, you know what? You're hired. And the reason you're hired is because you said the right thing to me, is that you love our customers. And so fast forward, within 2 years, she was the number 3 salesperson in the United States for Fiat. And she was built. She needed someone to tell her she could do it. She needed someone to clean her up a little bit, polish her up, right? She was like a lump of coal, and she became a multi-million-dollar diamond. She just needed some polishing. She was built because she had everything in her that it took to be a great salesperson. That was passion. She was about passion and people. Done. I can build anybody from that.
That's an amazing story, and just proof that if there's something that you want to do and you have the drive and the motivation to do that, there's nothing that can stand in your way, that you just need to, face that fear and just go after it.
And you have to ask. You have to
Absolutely.
ask. And she was pretty, she told me later, so I was so intimidated. You were the boss, and I just know that, I didn't dress like everyone else. And I just thought you would tell me to get out of the office or maybe even fire me. And I'm like, no, I love the fact that you had the guts to come in here. That is a great salesperson. So
I love that you brought up ask. It's amazing what can happen if you just ask for what you're wanting.
I mean, there's only 2 answers if you ask somebody something, yes or no. So you have a 50% chance if you just ask to get the deal, to get the raise, to get the job, to get the promotion. You got a 50% chance of getting it. Those are pretty good odds.
I think those are great odds. And really, even if you get the no, it's not that bad. That you survived, and you just go ask again. Absolutely.
Ask again. You just have to reframe it possibly how you ask, but you go ask again. Or that's a sign from the universe that maybe it's your time to move on. But you don't know any of that until you ask.
Absolutely. So I know that you're starting the Sold Out Staffing Company. What was your inspiration behind that?
Because great salespeople are built, not born. And so I've got a friend who owns a major staffing company, and this will just be a division of theirs that I'll own a piece of that division. But I've got this vision. When you look at headhunters are always going out and they're trying to recruit, Susie from Dell to go to IBM. And then, all they're doing is shuffling people around. Well, I don't think that changes the world economy. I don't think that is what that is not the economic stimulus package that our country needs. It's very expensive for employers to onboard new employees and get and terminate and things like that. So I've never been a fan of that. I had many headhunters, pick off a lot of my really key employees over the years. So I have a problem with it. So what I like about the Sold Out Staffing is that we're going to build the salespeople. People are going to be able to come to us. We've got a very good piece of technology, because what we know is of 100% of the salespeople, I don't care what vertical they're in, only about 22% of them statistically should be selling. And that's if it's software or they're selling computers or cars, or it doesn't matter. And so what we're looking to do is to find those 22% from other sectors. People are going, I've had it. I want to make more money. Or maybe someone who says, I didn't go to college. I wasn't able to go to college. Well, the automotive industry was a great career for people, in sales, where they can have a 6-figure income. So we've got the technology to be able to identify who those candidates are. And then once we've identified the right candidates, we're going to put them through the Sold Out Sales Boot Camp. And then from there, these employers will hire our salespeople out. But the difference is that we will continue to keep them on our training, digital training. My Sold Out team will actually have sales meetings with all of our people that we placed. So let's say I placed one at Dell, I placed one at a car dealership, placed one at an insurance company, it doesn't matter. They're all gonna be able to get on to one sales meeting a month and, get motivated and stay fired up, because again, you have to continue to polish that coal. And that's where companies fail, is that they don't hire the right people when it comes to sales. And then they wonder why their business is not moving forward, because they don't have the right people and they're not properly trained. So we're gonna solve that problem in America.
I love that you said that you're going to continue to give them support after. And I think that is great, because a lot of us, we might get into a new career or something, and it's kind of like we're just thrown in there to keep us going, because like we talked about before, when those little things come up, those bumps in the roads or those situations that we need to learn to grow from, those can almost take us out sometimes. And if we have that support with us, where we know that there's somebody that believes in us, that has trained us, they're still sticking with us, and they're allowing us to grow as we experience that, I think they're going to be an amazing employee.
Well, and that, and just the fact that the artificial intelligence that we've put behind this, like, it doesn't make mistakes. And so when that person calls us and just says, "Oh God, I hate this job. I don't think I can do it," I'm going to be able to tell them, or one of my team is, you know what, we don't make mistakes. You're not a mistake. That might not be the right job for you, but you got this, and you've been trained, you've been tested, you've got the aptitude, you have what it takes. Keep going. And that's where salespeople fail. But I believe that a well-trained sales force is the only economic stimulus package that this great country will ever need. Because that's, you have to motivate people to want to purchase. You have to motivate people to want to take money out of their pocket and hand it to that retailer. And you're only going to do that if you've got a well-trained, engaged, purpose-driven sales force.
Again, you bring up that purpose, and I think that's really key, and really changing the way that people do business and having a sustainable business as well.
Yeah. I mean, and you have to give people, and you need to let people know what your purpose is, because people will get behind your purpose even more than they'll get behind your product. And I saw it at Fiat, our purpose was to revolutionize the auto industry, to prove that women, minorities, and millennials had what it took in this very male-dominated industry to break glass ceilings, to earn six-figure incomes, all of the above. So every one of my salespeople, I told the story to countless customers. Why we're here. Yes, we would love to sell you a car, but let me give you the bigger picture of why we do what we do every single day as an organization. And I cannot tell you how many people either bought vehicles from us or came back, and then they sent their friends. I mean, I have people tell me all the time, like, I didn't even want a Fiat. I was going to buy a Volkswagen. I was going to buy a Mini Cooper, but nobody else said to us what you said to us, or what your team said to us. And I said, it's all true. And they said, no, we know it's true, because we can feel it, we can see it. It's everywhere. The social proof and the impact is everywhere. So we know what you guys are saying is true. And as human beings, we like to get behind companies that do the right thing. I mean, look at Tom's shoes. My daughter loves those shoes. She absolutely loves them, but she buys them. She could buy a less expensive pair of a canvas shoe, but she buys them because she knows that by buying that shoe, she has a shoe she likes, a shoe that's comfortable, but more importantly, that she's helping somebody else have a new pair of shoes. It's the same thing. I mean, purpose-driven companies, organizations, entrepreneurs, even if you're selling cars for a car dealership and you're there, but if you have got a purpose, which is to give your customers an amazing buying experience that that they could never get anywhere other than from you, and you believe that and you live it every single day, your business will explode. Just will.
Absolutely. I mean, we see that every day. That's really key to making the difference.
Yes.
Can you share with us what you think would be the biggest thing our audience could do today or tomorrow that could really start them on the path of living their best life?
Okay, that's a great question. I think the first thing you can do is, I think you have to identify what your purpose is. I think so many people, and it makes me really sad, that they drift through life. They're not unhappy. They're mediocre, just like the title of our book, Crushing Mediocrity. They live a mediocre life. And so I think the number one thing is that you have to find out, what are your drivers? What is it that drives you? What is it that gets you up in the morning? And then number two, I think you have to start defining what you want your legacy to be. Because you see, your legacy is not your end of life story. It's your everyday story. And the good news is that you can correct mistakes in your legacy. You can build a legacy. You can do anything you want with your legacy, so that when someday someone tells your legacy story, your end of life story, that you are the author of it, not somebody else. So I think those things are really important. And I think once you define what you want your legacy to be, I said a long time ago, I want to be known for somebody who helps women, helps empower women, and helps women go to the next level. You know, I do a lot, but that's what I want to be known for. So then what is my purpose? Well, my purpose is, you know, to revolutionize industries, you know, to make it acceptable for women, minorities, and millennials to come into male-dominated industries. I mean, I know that that's my purpose because it comes to me organically. I can just roll it off my tongue. And I think once you guys can find that, nothing will stop you, because you're going to know in your head on your toughest, darkest days, it's like, you know what though? I was meant to be here. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. So I'm not going to let this obstacle stop me. I'm not going to let this mistake define me. I'm not going to let fear of failure hold me back. I'm going to live my purpose, and I'm going to write my own end of life story so that someday when somebody else is telling it at my funeral, it's my version of it.
I think that is amazing advice that everybody should just run with and go figure out and really start, you know, just pushing that fear away and going out to achieve that. You know, yep. Lisa, you've given us so many great tools and so many great insights and strategies. I want to encourage everybody to go visit Lisa at her website, lisacopeland.com. We're going to put all those links for you in the email that you got today, so that you guys, all you have to do is check the email for the interview that you guys got today. It's going to have all the links to Lisa's amazing resources that you guys can access. And Lisa, I want to just really thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today, to share some of your stories, some of your strategies and insights with us, so that we could really go out there and start living our best life yet. And You've been such an inspiration to many ladies out there.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing more of your great work that you have in store for us.
There's lots more coming. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for including me and allowing me to just share my life experience. You know, it may not be for everybody and not every piece of advice I gave, but, you know, again, I just want to encourage all the women that will be watching this, is that you are the author of your own book and your own legacy. And so go out there and take control of it, and don't let fear stop you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.